Coming up on the ICT Newscast, two Native American members of Congress introduce a bill to address federally run boarding schools. Plus, two-spirit powwows are becoming more and more common. We take you to what may have been the first to start the trend. And Earth, Fire, Air, and Native Culture. We take a dive into a new series repping Indian country on a big stage. That's next on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amidawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. Around the country, public health officials say they are alarmed by an increase in cases of syphilis in American Indian and Alaska Native people. Shirley Snavy has more for us.
Syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease. It can occur as a rash and may go away on its own, but the person still can infect others. Cases in Indian country are on the rise, particularly in South Dakota. Cherokee Dr. Megan O'Connell is from the Great Plains Tribal Leaders Health Board. She said there is one piece of good news about syphilis.
It's curable for most people with a single shot of penicillin. In terms of the impact it has on babies, though, I think it's very concerning on the impact it's having on Native infants, because there are so many Native babies that are being born with congenital syphilis, and it can have such dire effects.
Syphilis has the ability to transfer from mother to baby in the womb, and it can cause a miscarriage or death. Dr. O'Connell stressed that testing is important. We head now to Washington, D.C., where a piece of legislation has been introduced in the U.S. Congress to address federally run boarding schools. The bill is co-sponsored by two Native American members of Congress, that is Republican Representative Tom Cole of the Chickasaw Nation and Democratic Representative Sharice Davids of the Ho-Chunk Nation. If passed into law, the act would establish a formal commission to investigate the federal government's policies on Indian boarding schools. This legislation is aside from the Interior Department's multi-year federal boarding school investigation. In July of 2022, Secretary Deb Haaland testified before lawmakers about this horrific time period in American history and how it impacted her own family.
My mother, she had her hands hit with a piece of rubber hose every time she spoke Karis. It's one of the reasons why she didn't want to teach us Karis, our native language, because she was worried and scared. And so you can see how easily it would be to have generations of non-native speakers because their parents are worried about the future of their children.
The bill is currently waiting to be heard in the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. Melanie Benjamin has been the chief executive of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe for 24 years. In her final State of the Band address, she outlined the Minnesota tribe's accomplishments.
Today is a historic day. Today marks the 40th anniversary of the first State of the Band address, delivered by our great chief executive, Arthur Gabo, in 1982. 40 years. This also marks the 25th anniversary of our 1837 treaty rights victory in the U.S. Supreme Court.
Melanie Benjamin has been the chief executive of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe for 24 years. In her final State of the Band address, she outlined the Minnesota tribe's accomplishments.
I am proud of the language revitalization movement, that we have. And we have this great partnership with Rosetta Stone, so anyone across the world can learn Ojibwe if they so desire. And And what I think about what the elders talk about is that language, it has all the answers for us. And it also provides us the opportunity to conduct those ceremonies from birth to death. And when we think about all of those gifts that were given to us by what we call the money doog, that we understand and we learn that through the language. So to me, that we need to know that, and because we are who we are, and we're Anishinaabe, and one of our responsibilities is to keep that language and pass it on. So that's, I think, very important to us, because it kind of solves a lot of issues if people start to understand the language, and it gives people self-esteem. uh, Kids have a better outlook in life, and all of those positive things that happens with that. But one of the other big issues is the reservation boundaries. We had a treaty right case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it was in our favor. And so that our hunting and fishing rights still exist. Well, after that, the Mille Lacs County decided that they didn't like that. And they also decided that they believe that there is no Mille Lacs Reservation. It was diminished during the Nelson Act times. And we've been working on that, and they use that every time they can turn around. Tribal Law and Order Act, no, you can't do that. You can't apply for that because there is no reservation. They even went to the extent of eliminating the word the Mille Lacs Reservation from any of their documents down at the county level. And so we had a lawsuit, and with the Tribal Law and Order, they said the reservation didn't exist. So therefore, where are you supposed to perform your law enforcement duties? So we went to the solicitor to have them review that case, and a lot of work was done on that, and it was determined that the reservation was never diminished, and it still existed, which is, whoa, that is like huge for us.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was mining. Sounds like you've got some mining potential up there, perhaps?
Yes, in one of our districts, and it's the Tamarack mines, they call it, and it's a 1.3 miles away from our reservation. And in the region up there is a lot of wetlands, so it's really just all kinds of wetlands all over the place, and a lot of issues involved with that. Because it's state and private land, they felt they didn't need to consult with us. Well, we said, wait a minute, you're 1.3 miles away. We're in rich watershed areas, and history has proven that nickel mining is the worst mining there possibly is in the whole world. And those watersheds are so delicate that when you go in there and start to mine, and issues happen, those watersheds flow all the way down to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, down to the Mississippi River, all to the Gulf. So there's a lot of negative impact that will happen. And the Mille Lacs Band, we support green energy, but we support energy that's responsible, and it doesn't devastate Mother Earth.
You have a couple of casinos,
Yeah.
but it sounds to me like Mille Lacs Band has invested their money wisely.
Yes. So we have what is called a net revenue allocation plan. And back when we started receiving some revenue from gaming, we determined that we had some priorities. And that was long-term savings. And that's so a portion of the money goes there every time there's a disbursement. We have base government spending. We have a housing initiative. We have permanent initiative. We have our circle of health or health insurance. And so what happens is that anytime there's any revenue generated from our casino properties, they go into the schedule. And so that ensures that there is money for these items every year, so that we just don't, like, say, this year we're spending the money on this. And then the other ones don't get any allocation, but we have allocation across the board. And a part of that, the long-term saving is to invest because we wanted to make sure that when the world changes, that we still had the opportunity to provide for our members as we're moving forward.
Serving as your elected official has been the greatest privilege and the honor of my life. To the next generation, you are the architects of tomorrow. Your dreams, ideas, and unique perspectives are the building blocks of how our band will continue to grow and thrive. As you take hold of the torch, remember, it is not just a symbol, it is a call to action.
Two-spirit powwows are growing in size and in popularity across the country. They are inclusive gatherings to recognize and celebrate the LGBTQ+ community. We take you now to San Francisco, California, for an inside look at what's believed to be the first two-spirit powwow in the U.S. I have this interview with Elan Fabian, who is the executive director of the Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirits, also known as Bates. For the folks who didn't get the chance to attend the Bates Two-Spirit Powwow, tell us about it.
The Bates Two-Spirit Powwow was funded as a need from Two-Spirit and Indigenous community members to be able to participate in our traditions. And over the years, we have been able to welcome back and create these spaces, these sober spaces, to welcome back folks into the sacred circle, whatever their gender expression, whatever they feel representing. And it's a day-long event filled with amazing vendors, both Two-Spirit and allies, food vendors on the outside, and then inside the arena, the powwow, which includes gore dancing, includes mexicas, Two-Spirit mexicas were also participated, and then a lot of honoring of community members and visionaries that we have in our larger community. And then the dance contests, along with some amazing drummers. We had a northern drum, a southern drum, and then the categories, which are degendered. So we do not gender the categories. And then, like many traditions, including mine, my language is not gendered. And so we allow folks to present themselves as they need to present themselves.
Describe to us how this event got its start to begin with, especially now that it's been in the making for over a decade.
So this is the first open public Two-Spirit powwow in the nation and actually in the world. Initially, there was a need, and everything results as a result of a need for community members who did not feel welcome in traditional mainstream heterosexual, sometimes colonized spaces, and did not feel welcomed coming into those events or those circles as their authentic selves. And so with permission and guidance from elders, community members in our Bates community, which is we're predominantly a volunteer-run organization, organized and spoke to folks and reached out to folks throughout Indian country and created this event 13 years ago. The first Bates powwow happened at the San Francisco LGBT Center. They did not know what to expect. Lo and behold, it was standing room only. There was such a need for that type of spaces that honored all of our identities and all our complexities, and highlighted Two-Spirit and Indigenous queer community members.
Something you made me think about is joy. And I think about how powerful it must have been to witness so much Indigenous joy going on at the Two Spirit powwow. Simultaneously, however, I also think about the almost daily attacks on the LGBTQ plus community. Can you describe for us how those two notions coexist at the same time?
Definitely. We honor the medicine that is created through these types of events. Um, as you may know, or as your audience may be aware, the highest rates of houselessness in Indigenous communities is among trans-identified Two-Spirit community members. The highest rates of suicide among our young people in Indigenous communities is among Two-Spirit and Indigiqueer youth. So to be able to create these beautiful spaces, these healing spaces, these joyful spaces, to celebrate each other in our existence and to give folks hope. Wow, you know, we can't, we need to create and continue creating across Turtle Island and, to the south and to the north, these types of spaces because they're critical to our existence and they're critical to our survival.
That was Angel Fabian of the Bay Area American Indian Two Spirits talking about their Two Spirit powwow. I had the chance to attend the Phoenix Two Spirit powwow over the weekend where I had a really amazing and fun time.
Mike Nuwak Nugan Nooch. Hello everyone, I am Ute. Mike Nuwak Nugan Nooch. Mike is hello. Nuwak is everyone. Nuga is I am. And Nooch is Ute. Mike Nuwak Nuga Nooch.
An Oscar nomination goes to an Osage man for the original song composed for Killers of the Flower Moon. Scott George wrote and performed Wajaje, a Song for My People. ICT's Sandra Schulman and Shirley Snavy asked him how the song came about.
We had talked about our music and reviewed it. We have several that probably couldn't deliver the same impact, but they had people's names in them, that were from 200 or 300 years old. And there are still people that today that refer back to those as their relatives. So they weren't appropriate, of course, for that purpose. And so we finally come to the conclusion of that we're going to have to compose our own. And myself and my brother and lifelong friend Van Big Horse, and even Kenny Big Horse, his brother, we started about the process of trying to do so. And in doing so, traditionally, if you're going to compose a song, we usually go to a prayer in order to get it started and ask for help. And then our belief is that even the music that we sing over and over and over is just a gift from God, and it didn't really come from us, so we do that first, and then we start the process of trying to figure out what we're going to say in the song, what words we want to use. And we've kind of found that, or I have, that once you put the words that you want in there and start singing it a little bit, they kind of find their own way into the song. And I don't know how that works in regards, and that's probably why they say it's God's way, is that our words have a natural rhythm to it, and they just happen to fit into that rhythm of that type of music. Pretty much wake up every morning with a song in your mind, as long as we've been singing. And so when this process started, I'd be like, "Hey, where'd that come from?" And I'd listen, I'd sing it to myself, and you know, it might take me a while to get it right. And then if I got it right, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's from when I was about 18, somebody sang that, and that was kind of popular back then. So it took a little while, about 2 months before we finally came up with something. And then my brother Van Big Horse, we're all three consultants on this project, and he composed a song also. So we were both working at the same time trying to do this. There's probably not an understanding outside of us singers what the parts are to the song, you know, and actually how long they last, or what it takes to get to what they wanted to see. They wanted that energy that they saw in our dances. Martin and I think Leo and Lily were all attended our ceremonial dances, and so they saw that energy that we were involved in. But it's not one that you can just sing one song and get there. You know, you kind of build up to it over a course of 4 or 5 songs, and then you throw one in there that you know that captures that energy. So that's kind of what they were looking for, and then what we were trying to do was capture right off at the very beginning, and so that we knew we had to have something that had a lot of energy in it to get started. There was also some a discussion I had the other day. What's the difference between contemporary and traditional music? And so that's where we lean is for traditional music, and contemporary music. We kind of liken that to what's sung at powwows. Like for this song in particular, when this is all over with, we want to use this song, you know, as an honor song in case somebody's called to be a head man or head lady. They can use this song if they don't have a family song to use. There's 2 parts of the song. There's the lead part of it, and then there's 3 what we refer to as honor beats in the middle, and then there comes the tail of the song. And in the tail of the song is where the words are, and the first part is Wajaje noje tidabe. And so we're asking, I'm asking, since I made the song, I'm asking my people to stand up. And then Wakanda Gakabe means that God made it for us. And so when you just translate it literally, it's that simple. That's all it says. When you ask me what I meant by it, I meant that everything that our people have gone through, especially what's depicted in the movie, but even today, we still go through issues and situations that politically and some horrific situations that are still out there. You know, I guess when you talk about the missing Indian women and things of that nature, so we're still going through those things. And so I'm saying that I want my people to stand up, be proud, because God got you this far. We're so appreciative of being gotten this far. You know, it's not something we aspire to do. It's just we just want to contribute to the movie and show our people that we care about them, that we love our people, and that's where we were coming from. And so when this came about, it was like we're speechless. We don't know really how to talk about it, but it's quite an honor.
Water, earth, fire, air, and native culture. The Avatar: The Last Airbender live action will increase Indigenous representation on TV on a widespread scale. The new Netflix series stars Mohawk actress Galen Theo Tarbell as Katara and will depict Aang and Team Avatar's journey through the southern and northern water tribes, among other nations. Casted at the age of 14, Tarbell moved far from her home of Akwesasne to film, jumping at the opportunity to portray Katara.
Growing up as a little native girl, you know, in Akwesasne, I never thought that this was a position that I'd ever get to be in. And that was one of the reasons that I loved the show so much growing up. You know, there wasn't many shows or characters that I could see myself in. And to see Katara, and especially for her to be so strong and vocal and just a warrior.
The northern and southern water tribes have been attributed to being inspired by Inuit cultures. Fans of the popular animation series say it's one of the only series to portray Arctic Indigenous ways of life in mainstream media. For Tarbell, contributing to Indigenous representation on this level is a blessing.
To see my little brown girl self in that type of character was just so empowering and just so important to have that for young kids. And I feel super blessed to be able to be that for other little Indigenous girls, you know?
Tarbell feels her role is paving the way for more space for Native culture and representation on television.
We are capable of anything, and I hope that seeing it on a show with this scale will be eye-opening for my people, and like you can truly do anything, you know? And it's all up to you, and it's all up to how you think.
For ICT News, Mackenzie Allen Charmley.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.